Hey guys, Level Cap here. Today is Monday, which means it's time for an episode of Loadout, the series where you guys, the viewers, get to pick a gun and customization for me to use. The way you do this is you leave a comment down below letting me know what kind of weapon and accessories you'd like me to run with, and I will pick one of the top rated comments for the next episode. Now, it's been a little while since I've done an episode of Loadout because the Battlefield 1 beta came out, and that kind of disrupted my entire weekly schedule. But we're getting back on track now that the beta is over, and it's actually been a little bit of time since I've actually played Battlefield 4, and this is a great Loadout comment to start it off with. Today's comment comes from Samuel McGreal, who has submitted multiple Loadout comments that I have picked in the past, and today is another great one. It's called The Sound of Music Loadout. We'll be running a primary AN-94 assault rifle with a holographic sight, a magnifier attachment with the flash hider on the barrel, and a stubby grip. Secondary is the one and only Deagle 44 with a mini red dot sight, and then for gadgets we'll be running with a med bag, an M320 3GL, that's the 3-shot grenade launcher, and then we'll have the V40 mini grenades, we get 2 of those guys, and a Bowie knife. And then Samuel writes, the hills are alive with the sound of gunfire, at least in the Battlefield orchestra. With the coming of Battlefield 1, I started to think of the sounds of many weapons in the game, and how developers were obliged to make each weapon sound a little different from the last. It's hard to recreate the crisp sound of a gunshot in video games, and I hope the new Battlefield really captures the audio well for every gun. Gamescom, fantastic, but now I can't wait until the beta. You have been given instruments to create the sound of music, from the butterfly noise of the AN-94 to the percussion of the Deagle. Each weapon will play a slightly different tune. Play your song correctly, and the enemies will be giving you a standing ovation as well as your team. Now Samuel, if you're at all worried about the sounds of Battlefield 1, let me just tell you that it is a great sounding game. I don't know how DICE manages to do it, but they always make their games sound even better. And if you've got a nice pair of headphones or a good sound system, you are really gonna make it sing when playing Battlefield 1. Now as for that little pitter-patter sound of the AN-94, I don't know if I've come to really appreciate it as much as other people. I know a lot of people love the AN-94. It's never really been my cup of tea. I've always kind of shied away from burst fire guns, but it's not to say that I don't respect the weapon and what it's capable of. In a skilled set of hands, this can easily be one of the most versatile and lethal weapons on the battlefield. Then again, in an unskilled set of hands, it can also be a very aggravating and difficult to use weapon. The timing of the burst fire in this is crucial for killing people in close quarters, but what you really want to aim for is killing people at medium range. Don't let them close the gap. Maintain your accuracy, benefit at further ranges, and aim for the head, as putting a couple burst on headshots will just drop your targets so insanely fast. Now as for the specific attachments for this AN-94, they're not bad and they're definitely workable. I don't know if it would be my top pick though. I usually run the angled foregrip with the AN-94. Now when using the angled grip for burst fire weapons, and remember you have to actually switch the AN-94 into burst fire, it will be on fully automatic by default, which makes it shoot 600 rounds per minute, so it's very slow. If you want to get that cool burst fire 1200 RPM rate of fire for the 2-shot burst, then you got to switch that fire mode. Now if you have an angled foregrip on there, it'll actually reduce the angle after the burst, so basically the transition from one burst to the other will be a little bit less jarring, and it allows you to spam the weapon a bit faster, which can make it easier in close range. The stubby grip will, however, control my spread a little bit better, so it maintains better accuracy and grouping overall. You should really just play around with the attachments that you want to try out in the firing range to see what works best for your playstyle. At one point in time, it was pretty easy to make arguments for the best loadouts for each weapon, but I feel more now than ever it really comes down to the individual and your specific playstyle. How do you like to shoot weapons? How long are your burst groups? What's your recoil control like? Those things factor into how you should outfit your gun. So only you really know how you fire weapons, and that's why taking guns into firing ranges and practicing with them for a bit, trying to figure out which attachments work the best for you for getting the best accuracy, is a really good way to try and refine your gameplay. So when I recommend configuring a weapon in a specific way, it's the way that I like to play with the gun, and it might not necessarily suit your playstyle. And although this isn't my ideal configuration for the AN-94, I like to be a little bit more spammy with it. As you can see from the gameplay, I'm having no trouble making it work out. And even the 2x flip up magnifier can be a little bit fun with this gun when you're trying to down people at extreme ranges, because this gun's got great accuracy and good damage potential at those longer ranges. Sometimes the accuracy does help out. Now, because the AN-94 is not necessarily the best close quarter weapons in the game, it is nice to have a strong sidearm, and the Deagle 44 is certainly one of those. You can headshot people down real fast or two-shot them in close quarters for a quick kill. A fun sidearm, one of my favorites in the game. I'm probably still a little bit more favorable towards the 93R as my ultimate sidearm, but the Deagle is certainly nothing to underestimate. And here we are in a game of TDM, and I'm trying to sort of flank around this corner here, but I notice that I'm pretty much by myself, so I can try and push into their spawn solo, probably get gunned down fast, or I can just try and hold up at this corner and kill anybody who comes around it. And for the most part, it's working pretty well. Hiding in a location that doesn't seem as obvious as just being straight up around a solid piece of cover can be beneficial, giving you sort of the element of surprise, that is, until somebody flanks you. Now, a lot of people gravitate towards this weapon because it really rewards precision and accuracy, which is a good mechanic to have in video games. There's a lot of guns out there that you can just kind of spam fire and get kills with. It's not that they don't require skill, but the skill level in order to get kills or be really efficient with it is not particularly high compared to other weapons. Now, if you have another gun that's harder to use, but once you master it's actually better than sort of the novice weapons, then that's what I think a lot of people can sort of start gravitating towards. It's a mechanic that directly rewards skill and dedication. And it's kind of cool that DICE put an assault rifle into this game that has a fairly interesting mechanic to it that differentiates itself from other assault rifles out there. I mean, it shoots completely differently, much more similar to, say, a DMR in terms of how you would play with it versus an assault rifle. And I hope we can find a lot of that kind of variety in the next Battlefield game. I mean, certainly we get a lot of variety between the different class weapons, but even within the class weapons, I'm hoping we can see some pretty cool distinctions. In fact, we've already seen kind of a reverse mechanic in Battlefield 1 where the medic weapons, the semi-automatic DMR style guns, do have a few of them that can be switched into a fully automatic variant of themselves. So rather than just keeping them all in semi-auto, you can fire some of them in a very slow rate of fire full auto, which is just kind of a fun new way to approach close quarter combat with the medic. Now, something that I'm noticing now, since this is really the first time that I've jumped back into Battlefield 4 since playing so much Battlefield 1 during the beta, is that the UI elements in Battlefield 1 are very contrasty, in your face, and all over the place. And I didn't see as much of that in the Battlefield 1 beta. Granted, I was playing a lot of Conquest on Battlefield 1 beta, so the UI elements of teammates and points and stuff like that weren't necessarily always as clustered or close by as they would be in like a 32-player of TDM. But that being said, I really did appreciate the fact that the UI elements seem to be toned down a bit, and it really allows me to focus on things a bit better just with my eyes, as opposed for looking for those red triangles all the time. I'm actually looking for soldiers instead, which is a considerably different skill, and what it does is it actually adds incentive to try and hide in dark areas or make yourself hard to see, since spotting is not so prevalent in BF1. And I'm really excited about this prospect of the new game. I think it's much more skill-based than Battlefield 4, and I cannot wait to see the overall community response when the game is launched. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave your comments down below for next week's episode of Loadout, and I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.